get it off my chest to start. I have genuinely tried to acknowledge the humanity of everyone in this Israel-Hamas horror war imperfectly with the skills I have. But on Twitter, my decade of unequivocal support of Palestinians means nothing. If you acknowledge anti-Semitism on October 7th, you are an enemy. I think I'm just going to say nothing from here forward. It's not leading to anything constructive. I think almost nothing is constructive on Twitter anymore. It's one of the most difficult geopolitical situations of my lifetime, and it deserves a less stupid conversation. If we can't learn to see more of the humanity in each other, there's no future where we can solve problems. That's all we'll have, an endless destructive screaming match. At first, I was like, not with the way you've been talking, but let's enhance this thought a little bit because we're forced to enhance thoughts. That's what we do here. Can't keep taking these people's statements as facts and reacting to them not justifying, I should say, categorizing the situation in conversations that most political talking people who people give a fuck about are generally hovering around. And when I say that, I mean everybody's political to some extent, to some slant. Naturally, if you vote, that you're a political person. If you exist, you're political. But in a realm of saying nobody gives a fuck about what Poopsock94 is saying on fucking Twitter. And, you know, that's funny because we do care about what Cat Turd says. But that's a whole other video for a whole other time. I want to play a game with these statements. And the reason why I want to play a game with these statements is because at some point or another time, you will eventually land with somebody who will say some shit like the first reply underneath this thread. I say this with all earnest intent. Now you know how Jews feel. Almost all of us want to criticize Israel when it deserves it, but we're told to either be anti-Zionist and hate Israel or to shut up. It's what pushes some Jews towards the right. We're not allowed nuance. I really acknowledge that. I see it every day. Like, I said, I'm okay with some of what Germany's doing, but not like all of it. I just wish you would see where I'm coming from. And this has been a thing as of late. This has been a thing. This is and as this comment says, acknowledging the horrors of October 7th isn't why people are upset. You refuse to call Israel an apartheid state. You accuse one of the most ubiquitous pro-Palestinian phrases of being genocidal. You also push Zionist propaganda such as the polls you recently tweeted about. I don't know if these people are doing this shit on purpose or if there is a more sinister, nefarious goal underlying all of what I've been seeing. But at some point, and this really goes into like the conversation that Hassan just had with Ethan, it goes into the whole like Piers Morgan echo chamber, it goes into what he did to Cenk Uygur. Like there's so many avenues to explain to you why I just don't know what's going on. And when I say I don't know what's going on, I mean there's obtuseness that I've experienced and observed being a content creator for a couple years, a regular content creator. And some of it is expected. So you got to have two sides of the conversation or else everybody's paying attention to just the one guy with the one point. But like we've hit what I believe to be that Fermi paradox where at some point even you have to admit, like, you're grasping at straws to make a separate argument. So that's why I said at the beginning of this, I don't know if it's for a nefarious underground reason that I'm just not aware of because I'm not in the room with these people, or if the general idea around discussing politics is to have a group of people so daft that all you can do is react to them and pour influence into correcting them. So, like, being incompetent or an accomplice isn't an accomplishment. And to acknowledge these arguments as real is a problematic for me. Because while Hassan could do it, and be like, well, you know, obviously not everybody's saying this, but like the majority of the weirdos of the right and the tweeters and the internet and Piers Morgan and like real life people are saying these things. So that gives a validity for the weight that he has with his audience to discuss these things as real. My problem is that there's only him, and then there's like a fall through, just straight to the floor. And through that fall through exist these people. These are the people that get into rooms with politicians. These are the people who'll make, like, Destiny just sat up with a representative and then became like a Zionist propaganda guy who is denying the genocide of Palestinians right now. As every day I turn on my phone, I get updates from a journalist that said that's still alive, showing me with my own eyes what is happening. So it's like, if I have access to that and I can spend 3 minutes of my time to just view it before moving on to the next thing of my day, how can you, the people with the money and the connections and the power and the lunch dates and the dinner meetings and the lunch meetings and the this and that, how can you not like involve yourself in that? I can understand being completely detached from it. That's what the majority of Americans are. And I know that because I literally live in one of the most populated cities in the world. But that's because I live in one of the most populated cities in the world that this conversation leads to that point. For these people, and the focus of what I'm trying to get at with these ideas is that I can't fathom a world in which there is no ulterior motive with this, because even if there weren't, the rationale of how you've explained yourself and how you've painted yourself like aristocracy, all these fucking martyr-like wannabes who feel like anything happening out there is personal to them, but then their commentary on it reeks of the privilege of not even having to touch it. You can then, and that's what I mean about subterfuge and like the ulterior motive. I naturally am, and this has been my thought process for a while now, I am naturally more predisposed to assume that your ulterior motive is that you are actually a virulent racist. Like you are actually a disgusting human being. And I don't mean that lightly, because I feel like a lot of people say that shit lightly. Like this fear of denial and this money-making audience with views, likes, it reeks of white privilege. It reeks of just the weirdest. It reeks of, would you say this on the street? Because I had a friend of mine in Palestine die. My friend's brother. Look, we were friends, but like, I'm friends with his brother as well, friends with the family. He's dead now. So now I can't even begin to tell you how not Hamas he was. Israel directly killed him. Like that was a target. So like, for me, I can't reconcile with a force that did not mourn, did not stop, did not hold on for nothing when that guy got killed. So I can only imagine how many stories sound like that. Now you want to have humanitarian 4-hour pauses for like, it's like, yeah, we should stop the Holocaust every 4 hours. Like 20 hours of Holocaust, 4 hours to relax. Go get some breakfast, chill. Like, it's just, and it's like, I understand that, like, if you really melt down everything that we talk about on this platform, you can reduce a lot of conversations to, look, bro, I'm just trying to argue for the sake of entertaining my audience. And it's like, I understand that. But this is it. Like, this is it. If this is the hill you die on, if this is the so-called planet that you can't come back from this, but, you know, sometimes you might say, well, okay, all right, you've made your point. We've heard you talk. When I tell you that a lady or a person just said, my beautiful 17-year-old was murdered today in Blacksburg, Virginia, by my ex-boyfriend. Please pray for me and my family. When I tell you there's way more you could pick on, you might say, well, why would we want to talk about a story about a lady who's murdered? No, you like to make it all about Twitter because that's what this whole thing was about, right? Or did you forget the start of this video? I'm a good not journalist. I'm a good storyteller. It's full circle. It's loophole. Fisheye sees all. I'm going to read out loud these first 3 comments, and I just want you to see where this is headed. The high price of letting your daughter date a black. Sorry for your loss. Racism saves lives. The price for this kind of loss is immeasurable, almost like a toll of epic proportions that can never be repaid. Notice patterns and act accordingly. Toll paid. The toll has been paid. For future reference, if you care about a woman or your daughter, don't let them date a black man. Guess who? Scott Adams. Unfortunately, the trends and stats were not in her favor. Single moms posting else. Oh, they're just trolls. Oh, they're just trolls. Oh, they're just trolls. I will be praying for her, but you must agree to capital punishment as a sentence for her boyfriend. There are no other solutions. Don't you dare think about forgiving this guy in court, unless progressivism and equity are much more important to you than what your daughter was. Everybody's a stepper till a stepper come and step to you. Everyone's a stepper till a stepper come and step to you. What you want to do? Because now I'm going to add the final piece to this video. If the world you exist in is led by people who deny reality, what happens when that reality rebounds against the reality of those warped individuals? What is the communication point between them? Are you, as a person like Brianna, I'd ask this question to aristocracy, the weirdo group, are you making this world what you want it to be? Because if you are, you're making the world not habitable for you. The thing that does that is a virus. Cancer, to be more specific. We don't like cancer.